In the name of International News Media, this is your host, Awee Abayari, welcoming you to another edition of Immigration Update on the Air. With us today is Attorney Jack Golan of Papkin, Shamir, and Golan Law Offices. Welcome to the show, Attorney Golan.
I'm always happy to be with you and your listeners.
Thank you very much. We look forward to hearing latest news developments, positive news on immigration, and especially with regards to the reduction of backlogs, hopefully.
The reduction of backlogs is apparently actually beginning to work, and there are some signs of life, new life in the immigration service. What they are doing now, as far as we can tell, is they are concentrating on reducing the backlog of pending applications for adjustment of status, or in other words, forms I-485. People who applied with forms I-485 for adjustment of status inside the United States are getting many approvals without interviews. They are simply looking at the files, and if everything looks okay, they are waiving the interviews and sending out approvals and green cards without interviews. This really will reduce the backlog of applications for adjustment of status, and maybe after that they will have the time, manpower, and energy to reduce other backlogs. The other most painful backlog is in applications to remove condition. Those people who obtained a green card by marriage and applied for removal of the condition and getting the permanent 10-year card needs to file form I-751. And this one has been pending for between 2 and 3 years before they can get an answer, a decision on their applications for the permanent green card. Hopefully, the immigration will deal with this after they finish the backlog of forms I-485. There's also some signs that maybe the backlog with labor certification will be reduced because they are introducing some new system for filing and processing the application for labor certification for foreign workers, and if they succeed in implementing it, I believe this too will do very much to reduce the backlog of labor certification. Of course, the main problem now with labor certification is not the actual application, but the preliminary form of obtaining a prevailing wage, which takes much too long. Maybe this too will be taken care of. So there are some signs of life in the immigration system. The place where there is absolutely no movement is at the American embassies overseas, and especially the American Embassy in Manila, where things are not moving at all, or if anything is moving, it is moving at snail's pace. And now, of course, this is not part of the immigration system. This is handled separately by the Department of State, not by the Department of Homeland Security. And maybe one day they too will wake up and start cutting down on the backlog of such applications. So this is what is going on in the world of immigration.
Well, wonderful news, Attorney Golan, isn't it? That's beautiful news for many of our listeners who've been wondering whether their cases will be approved of. And good news is when you mentioned that many of the cases, sometimes they waive the interviews. What cases are those, Attorney Golan?
Almost any type of case that is pending for adjustment of status. Sometimes even cases with criminal records, with criminal convictions. If they look at it and they see that the record is pretty old, and maybe not very significant or very dangerous, they just waive the interview and go ahead and approve the case without an interview.
Wow.
A big chance is for cases where you don't need much of an effort to prove the relationship. For example, cases between children and parents or parents and children.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, where you don't need to prove that the relationship is valid, like in marriage cases, which are a different story.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, what about the extension of employment authorization, Attorney Golan? Is there any good news?
Not yet.
Uh-huh.
Not
Mhm.
yet. But maybe they are simply going from one area to another area. They are not going over a broad front. Okay, they are not trying to handle all areas of immigration at one time,
Right.
which maybe is impossible.
Mm-hmm.
But at least if there is one area that they are handling seriously, okay, instead of only talking about it,
Mm-hmm.
if they're handling seriously the adjustment of status, hopefully after they finish that, they'll move to other areas of the immigration service.
Mm-hmm.